Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Welcome to Beamer's Crafty Corner. I am Beamer, better known as Els. And today we're going to we're going to do something with some really cheap alcohol ink markers. Okay. Um, I didn't want to do this one because I figured there was enough of these videos. However, I looked around and I really didn't see any using these particular types of pens. So we all have them. We all bought them. Most of these I see are people using Sharpies to make these. And I said to myself, how many of us have bought an inexpensive set of alcohol markers that we find out later on cannot be refilled? It's an alcohol marker, but you just cannot refill it. And when it dries out, you have to get a new one. And they dry out rather quickly. But here's the thing. They're not out of pigment. They're just dry. Okay? So we are going to use them to make some sprays. All right? And if at all possible, we're going to be putting some mica powder into them so that they are, they've got that kind of, you see how that's got that kind of movement in it? That's from the mica powder. So we're going to add that if we can. If we don't, then we don't. Okay, so we'll probably do one with and one without. So grab your dried out, old, inexpensive alcohol markers and some spray bottles, and let's do this. I'll be right back. Okay, so supplies. Obviously, your dried out markers, which may not be dry on the inside, but they're dry. Okay, you're going to want some of these spray bottles. Apparently scissors to get into the packaging. There we go. Now, these I get at the Dollar Tree. 2 for $1.25. They work really well and they last forever. If you are going to be using some perfect pearls or mica powder or something like that, you're going to want that as well. You're going to want a pair of regular pliers. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, some gloves, a pair of scissors you don't really care too much about, and some 91 to 99% isopropyl alcohol. Not mineral spirits, not 71% isopropyl alcohol, not the 70% or any of the lower ends. You want 91 to 99% alcohol. You pick this up for $2 at the Dollar Tree. Also, not denatured alcohol. Okay? So, we're going to start by putting on a pair of gloves. And I hope these are going to fit me because they're smalls and I have big hands. These are not going to fit me. They'll fit well enough. They will fit well enough. But I will take my rings off because they'll tear these little gloves. Okay. I'm just being lazy. I don't want to go out to the shop and get the larger ones. Okay, gloves. So then, let's get these out of the way. We're going to bring one of these over. Now, put something down to protect your work surface. Paper towel, silicone mat, something. All right? And we're going to start by adding our alcohol. Into, and you may have to use a funnel, but I'm only going to go about 1/3 to 1/2 of the way up here. I don't want it totally full. And then I'm going to take the cap off of this, and I'm going to remove this piece. So that's what I need the pliers for. We're going to hold that, and we're going to turn it. on the other side. One side is pressed and the other side is solid. So I'm going to take this part out. Set that down. And then I'm going to take this out. Now, I'm going to cut this in half. Because I want it as submerged in there as possible. And then, waste not, what not, I'm going to take the tips too. Both of the tips, that one, and this one. In they go. Okay, we'll dispose of these pieces. We don't need them. And then, so this does not evaporate, we're going to close it and set it to the side. I'm going to do it again. Only this time, I'm actually going to use two. These are close enough in color that I think it's going to give me a better saturation. So again, I'm going to open my pen, find the side that is pushed in, hold it with your pliers, and just twist it. It'll come loose, okay? Take this part out. Now, as I said, this part's still really juicy, even though the tips are dry. Okay? We're going to put that in there. We'll put that in there. We're going to put our tips in, add our alcohol, and be on our way. Okay? Now, we have to let these soak for like an hour. You'll know, because when you check on it, you'll see that that gauze piece that's in there, that tubing, the center piece, it'll be clear. It'll be white, or pretty close to white. So only about half. You can see it's already starting to turn, getting some white to it. And again, I'm going to put the lid back on. You can shake it up. And you're just going to let that sit for about an hour, okay? So once we have that and it's been sitting for an hour, we'll come back and test it, see what it looks like, and see if we want to, you know, add the second pen to this one, or, you know, is it going to be a good enough shade for us, okay? So I'll be back in just a few. Well, an hour, but for you, it's a few. All right, so these have been soaking for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And there's still quite a bit of color in the pads, so I'm going to add a little bit more alcohol. And we're going to do this slowly. You don't want to add too much, because if you put in too much, you could actually overly dilute it. So I'm just going to put in a little bit more, and I think that's going to be kind of the end of it for that one. And I'm going to close it back up, and we're going to give it about another 30 minutes. And we're going to do the same thing here. This one, I think, will take a little more alcohol. So we'll put a little more in here. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just cleaning that concentrated ink out of the foam inside, which is what holds and binds it in there. And we're hoping to get as much out as possible. So we're actually going to squeeze these out when we're done. So I'm going to let these sit for another 30 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and we'll squeeze them out and see where we go. I'll be right back. All right. So I'm going to open this one up. And I can tell you in the process, I did decide that the pink one needed more color. So I'm going to go in here with my tweezers. You can use tweezers, forceps, whatever. And I'm going to fish out these pieces. Do I have to? No, you don't have to. If you don't want to, you can leave them in there. It's not going to hurt it. And I will probably leave the small pieces in. It's a little tricky to get them out of there when you're using bent tweezers. Let me grab a forceps. A straight forceps. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to squeeze all of that ink out from the top down. There's a lot of ink in there. Okay. So once I've kind of squeezed that all down, I will get the other part out. Now, I'll be honest, I leave the little pieces in. And I leave them in because, quite honestly, they're kind of a pain in the butt to get out of here. Every now and then you might go in and get a lucky grab, but usually not. Like, I can't even get that other piece of plastic, the other piece of the core out of there. There you are, you little bugger. Well, there you were. There we go. You can see it's starting to get lighter here. There's still alcohol in there. So I'm going to let it drain. And once I have that, and it's all drained out, I'll wipe my fingers, wipe the top, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back on this one. I'm going to clean up this mess. When I come back, we're going to see what this looks like. Be right back. All right, so now we have our ink that's been, floating its pieces for over an hour. And I have a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to give it a couple of sprays and see what happens. And you can see how quickly it's drying. Shake it a little bit if you want. You could tap it. You could spread it with a puffer. But there you go. Your own spray alcohol. Now, how do we clean that up? Well, with alcohol, of course. Just use an alcohol pad or a little bit of alcohol on a napkin and just wipe it right up. No problem. All right, let's test the other one and see if we like the color, because this is the one we added the extra pieces to because it just wasn't getting to, a color we liked. We wanted it darker. So they're in there. You can see how light they've become. I haven't taken them out yet. We're testing. I'm going to see if I want to let this soak more. Look at that. Look at that color, y'all. Can you see how fast it dries? No problem. All right. So now, if you wanted to add the mica powder to this, you could use clear, like the white mica powder in there, or you could pick a shade that matches it. This one, it's obvious it's purple, so I put purple mica powder in here. I have a red one up there that has red mica powder in it. These, I don't think I'm going to put mica powder in. I think I'm going to keep these just the way they are. I kind of like the look, so I'm going to keep these just the way that they are. Okay? So, that's it. That's all I have for you. If you're new here, hit the button and subscribe. Why not? You know, I offend everybody, and you want to be here when that happens. At least when I offend you. What else? If you would like to know my schedule, you can get that here on the YouTube channel, or you can scoot on over to my Facebook group and pick up a copy of it over there. And in both places, it's in the posts or pinned at the top, so it's real easy to find. Also, if you would like to cyber stalk me, you can do that by going down to the description box below, clicking on the more link, and go ahead and follow one of the links in there. You can get my Instagram, my email address. You can get my Etsy, my Ko-Fi. It's all down there. Just go down and explore. Okay? That's it. Simple alcohol inks to use up or reuse your cheap, unrefillable alcohol pens. Get a second life out of them. Don't just chuck them in the trash, guys. Until I see you again, stay well, my friends. I love you guys. Bye-bye.